Welcome to DriverDTrains. Thanks for stopping by. I'm your host, Driver D. Our conductor and brakeman, Scratchy-C, is currently involved in a work stoppage. In my last video, I showed you how to add a Wi-Fi shield to your DCC-EX Command Station and use the WiThrottle app on your phone or tablet to run some trains. If you haven't already seen that video, be sure to check it out. In this companion video, I'll show you how to configure DCC-EX to connect the Wi-Fi shield to your home Wi-Fi network, as well as how to add an automation in DCC-EX to turn on your track power when the command station boots. In the next video, I'll show you how to add a digital LCD display to your DCC-EX command station. Both of these videos are part of a series on how to assemble and configure a DCC-EX command station to control your trains. Be sure to check this video's description for links to the other videos in this series, as well as the various websites and products I mention here. Also, if you are enjoying the videos, be sure to leave a comment and hit the like button. Time's a-wastin', so enough with the gab and let's get going. Configuring DCC-EX Wi-Fi. Now that we've added a Wi-Fi shield to our DCC-EX command station, downloaded the WiThrottle app, and used the command station's Wi-Fi in access point mode to run our trains, let's learn how to configure DCC-EX to connect the Wi-Fi to our home network in station mode. While we're at it, we'll create a basic DCC-EX automation to turn on our track power when the command station boots. Here is our work order for today. First, we'll connect DCC-EX to our home Wi-Fi network in station mode. Then, we'll connect the WiThrottle app to DCC-EX on our home network and try running some trains. After that, we'll learn how to use access point mode after the command station has been configured for station mode, and how to restore the Wi-Fi chip to the default access point mode settings. Then we'll consider the pros and cons of access point and station mode to help you decide which to choose. Finally, switching tracks, we'll take a look at the DCC-EX automation file and create a simple automation to turn on the track power when the command station boots. We've got to keep the customers happy, so release the brakes and let's get rolling. Configuring DCC-EX Wi-Fi. Step 1. Connect DCC-EX to our home Wi-Fi network in station mode. Thus far, we have been using the Wi-Fi on our DCC-EX command station only in access point mode by connecting our phone or tablet's Wi-Fi directly to the command station. Now let's look at how to connect the command station to our home Wi-Fi network in station mode instead. We'll do this by creating a configuration file in the Arduino IDE and upload it to the DCC-EX command station. We'll create the configuration file by copying the example that DCC-EX provided for us and making some changes to it so that the command station will connect to our home Wi-Fi network. So let's locate and launch the Arduino IDE. When you launch the Arduino IDE, it will open the last sketch you worked on. Presumably, this will be the DCC-EX command station. If not, find the DCC-EX command station sketch we downloaded in an earlier video and open the command station ex.ino file. This will load DCC-EX into the IDE. Just remember, it may take a minute or two for the IDE to load all the code. What we are going to do next is create a configuration file by copying the example that DCC-EX provided for us. Find the tab bar near the top of the IDE window where we see a list of some of the files that make up the DCC-EX software package. The ones we see here are just a few of the 100 separate sketch files that make up DCC-EX. To see the rest, we need to find the button with the 3 dots near the upper right corner of the code window. Press this button and we will see a menu with a list of all the individual parts that make up the DCC-EX Command Station package. Scroll down to near the bottom of the list and find the file called config.example.h. Note that the IDE alphabetizes capital letters before lowercase letters, so the config.example file is near the bottom. Select the config.example.h file in the menu and it will take us to the default DCC-EX configuration file. Let's take a brief look around. If we scroll through the file, we will see that it includes definitions for a number of DCC-EX features. Look for the lines with the green and orange letters that start with #define. The most important of these is the definition for what kind of motor shield we are using. But the definitions that we are most interested in today are the ones for the Wi-Fi network, and the two that we will want to configure are the Wi-Fi network name and the Wi-Fi password. We will do this in a new copy of the file called config.h. Now we could easily quit the IDE, navigate to the folder where we put all the DCC-EX files, make a copy of the config.example.h file, rename it to config.h, and relaunch the IDE. But we can do all that faster in the IDE itself. We'll go back to the 3 dots menu and select New Tab at the very top. We'll name this new tab config.h, all in lowercase letters. Then we'll use the menu to go back to the config example file and use Control or Command A to select all the text, and then Control or Command C to copy it. Then we'll go back to our new config.h tab, either by clicking on the tab itself if we can see it, or by using the dots menu. Now click in the empty tab and use Control or Command V to paste the text. We can scroll through the text to confirm that it is all there. We have now made our own personal copy of the DCC-EX configuration file. Now, in our own personal config.h tab, we can enter the details of our home Wi-Fi network. There are only 2 definitions we need to change: the network name and the password. The network name is technically called a station ID, so we are going to look for the line in the code that says #define Wi-Fi SSID. In the quotes where it says your network name, we are going to type the name of our Wi-Fi network. Keep the quotes that are already there, but make sure your Wi-Fi network doesn't have a name that includes the double quote symbol. Next, we're going to find the line that says #define Wi-Fi password and replace the your network password text with our Wi-Fi password. Again, keep the quotes that are already there, but make sure your password doesn't include any other double quote symbols. We have now modified our personal configuration file for our home Wi-Fi network. Let's upload the modified sketch to the Arduino by clicking on the Upload button. Remember, this is the round button with an arrow in it in the upper left-hand corner of the IDE window. The IDE will compile and upload our code along with our new configuration file, and the command station will reboot. Then quit the IDE. Step 2. Connect the WiThrottle app to DCC-EX on our home Wi-Fi network. The Wi-Fi chip in the command station sometimes needs the power to cycle to update its settings, so we'll unplug the USB cable from the Arduino and then plug it back in. Now we'll go back to the EX WebThrottle app in Google Chrome. Make sure the debug console is on and then press the Connect DCC++EX button. Select the USB port that our command station is connected to. As before, the debug console will provide a transcript of all the commands sent to and received from DCC-EX. Now, however, when we scroll up through the text in the console window, the line that says LCD4 should now show a new IP address, probably 192.168.1.170 or something close. We can also get this IP address by typing the command +CIFSR into the debug console command line and pressing the Send button or hitting Return or Enter. Once you find the numbers, write them down since we will need them for the next step. Before we move on, let's also make sure the track power is on. It's time to reconnect our phone or tablet to our home Wi-Fi network. Then we'll open the WiThrottle app and go to the settings screen. We'll again select Server Configuration and then click on the name of the current server if needed. In this case, it's DCC-EX. We'll then click on Configure and enter the IP numbers we just saw in the 4 boxes. The port number should still be 2560, the same as before, since we did not change that in the config.h file. Hit the Connect button and the WiThrottle app should connect to the server. Click on the Address button at the bottom of the screen. Select the number for the locomotive we ran the last time, or else press the keypad button to enter in a new locomotive's DCC address, and then press Set. The red Not Set button in the top left corner should again turn green with our locomotive's address in it. We are now connected to DCC-EX in station mode, and we're ready to run some trains. Press the throttle button at the bottom left corner of the screen, and we are ready to fire up the prime mover. Light the lights, sound the horn, and prepare to roll out. Now, whenever the DCC-EX command station boots, if it finds our home Wi-Fi network, it will automatically connect to it in station mode. We can open the WiThrottle app on our phone or tablet, connect to the DCC-EX server, set the locomotive address, grab the throttle, and go. All aboard! Step 3. Using access point mode after station mode. If the command station doesn't find our home Wi-Fi network, it will go into the default access point mode, and we can connect to it directly by changing our phone's Wi-Fi setting to the DCC-EX network we saw in the last video. However, even though the command station didn't find our home Wi-Fi network and will boot in access point mode, the Wi-Fi chip will remember our home Wi-Fi network password. This means that the first time we connect to DCC-EX this way, our phone or tablet will give us an error message that the password is incorrect because it is still trying to connect with the old access point password. So this time, instead of using the default PASS_access point password we used before, we will use our home Wi-Fi network's station mode password. So we need to enter our regular home Wi-Fi password even though we are not connecting to our home Wi-Fi network. After this, our phone or tablet will connect to the command station in access point mode. Back in the WiThrottle app, we need to change our server configuration back to the access point IP address of 192.168.4.1 that we used before. Then we're ready to run trains again. Step 4. Restoring access point mode. I encourage you to try both access point mode and station mode on your DCC-EX Command Station's Wi-Fi system and decide which is more convenient and reliable for your circumstances. However, as I mentioned before, once we switch to station mode, DCC-EX will continue to connect to our home Wi-Fi network as long as it is within range and the name and password still match. Even if the command station can't connect to our home network, it will enter access point mode with our home network's Wi-Fi password. This remains true even if we delete the configuration file we created for our network name and password. The reason for this is that the Espressif Wi-Fi chip itself retains that information in its memory and will always try to enter station mode as long as it has that information stored. Deleting the configuration file from DCC-EX does not erase the Wi-Fi station mode information stored in the Espressif Wi-Fi chip. So to truly reset the command station to access point mode, we need to erase the information stored in the Wi-Fi chip. We do this by sending the +restore command to the command station. Here's how. First, we need to go back into the Arduino IDE and tell DCC-EX to set the Wi-Fi name and password back to their default values. There are a couple of ways we can do this. The simplest is just to delete the config.h file that we created earlier using the 3 dots menu. Another option is to type the default Wi-Fi name and password into our config.h file in place of the ones we entered for our home Wi-Fi network. In order for this to work, they have to appear exactly as they do in the example configuration file. Specifically, the Wi-Fi SSID has to be exactly your network name with a capital Y in quotes, and the Wi-Fi password has to be exactly your network password with a capital Y, also in quotes, with the word password shortened to PASSWD. Once we've either deleted our config.h file or changed the Wi-Fi name and password back to their default settings, we need to upload the sketch to the Arduino. However, this will not clear the memory in the Espressif Wi-Fi chip, and when the command station reboots, it will once again connect to our home Wi-Fi network. So we'll quit the IDE now and open the EX WebThrottle app in Google Chrome. Make sure the debug console is on and connect to our DCC-EX command station by selecting the USB port it is connected to. Then wait a moment for the command station to boot up until we see the message in the debug console that the command station is ready, along with the status of the track power. Now we type the following command into the command line of the debug console, all in capital letters, +RESTORE. Then we press return or enter or hit the send button. We will see a response in the debug console window. We'll hit the disconnect DCC++EX button to disconnect from the command station. Unplug the USB cable from the command station, wait a few moments, and then plug it back in. Still in the EX WebThrottle app, we'll reconnect to the command station and watch it boot. This time, if we look closely, we'll see that it is booted into access point mode. We can confirm that the Wi-Fi chip has reverted to the default AP mode PASS_password by typing on the command line +CWSAP ? Press return or enter or hit the send button. We should see the default password in the display. Our command station is now back in access point mode with the default name, password, and IP address. Step 5. Which should you choose, access point or station mode? So why would we choose either access point or station mode over the other? There are a few different possibilities. Access point mode is a very simple connection that doesn't require any additional configuration in DCC-EX. I have also sometimes found that DCC-EX is more responsive to my throttle in access point mode. Also, we can take our DCC-EX Command Station anywhere, and we will always connect to it in the same way. We don't need to connect to our home Wi-Fi network or even need a home Wi-Fi network. If our layout is not close to our home Wi-Fi network router, or if the connection to our home Wi-Fi is poor in our train room, we may get a better connection skipping our home network and connecting in access point mode. Finally, we can let others access our command station in access point mode without giving them our home Wi-Fi password. And if we have spare old phones or tablets, we can set them up as dedicated throttles that connect to the DCC-EX Command Station without going through our home Wi-Fi network. However, there are also a few limits or drawbacks to access point mode. For one, the espressive chip on the Wi-Fi shield doesn't have as much power as our home Wi-Fi router does, so if we get more than about 25 or 30 feet away from it, we may not have a reliable connection. Another limitation is that the espressive chip only supports 4 simultaneous throttles in AP mode, so if we want to have an operating session with more than 4 people, we won't be able to do it with one DCC-EX command station in access point mode. Finally, there is the inconvenience of having to switch our phone or tablet's Wi-Fi setting to DCC-EX every time we want to use it. And remember, when our phone or tablet is connected to the DCC-EX command station in access point mode, we won't have a Wi-Fi internet connection on that device. The limitations of access point mode are the benefits of station mode. Usually, we can locate our command station or our home network router in such a way that DCC-EX has a good connection to our home Wi-Fi network, so we will have a more reliable connection in station mode. Also, our phone or tablet will always be able to find the command station as long as we are on our home Wi-Fi network. We don't need to manually connect to the DCC-EX Wi-Fi chip each time we want to use it, and our device will still have Wi-Fi internet connection even when we are using our throttle app and running trains. Finally, we can use more than 4 throttles simultaneously. However, station mode also has some drawbacks. One of the drawbacks of station mode is that we have to configure DCC-EX with our Wi-Fi network and password in order to use it. For most people, they will do this once and then never have to worry about it again. However, if you frequently take your DCC-EX command station to different locations with different Wi-Fi networks, you'll have to reconfigure it each time with a new Wi-Fi name and password using the Arduino IDE. Otherwise, the command station will default back to access point mode. This also means you will have to keep track of whatever the password is currently set to, because you will also need to use that password to access the command station in access point mode until you reconfigure it again. If you only ever use your DCC-EX command station with your home Wi-Fi network, this won't be a problem. However, you will have to share your Wi-Fi network password with anyone else you want to be able to connect to the command station using their own phone or tablet. So which should you choose, access point or station mode? The choice is up to you. You can even choose both, because now you know how to switch between both modes, and you even know how to restore the command station to its default settings if you choose. Step 6. Our first automation. One of the limitations we currently have is that the free WiThrottle Lite app does not have a power switch we can use to turn our track power on and off. We can upgrade to the full version of the app, which I recommend you do at some point. But for now, we can get DCC-EX to automatically turn the track power on when the command station starts up. To do this, we'll create an automation in the Arduino IDE and upload it to the command station. So let's open DCC-EX again in the Arduino IDE. What we are going to do next is create an automation file. First, let's look at the example that DCC-EX provided for us. Let's go back to the button with the 3 dots in the tab bar near the upper right corner of the code window. Let's press this button to open its menu with all the DCC-EX components. Scroll down to near the bottom of the list and find the file called myautomation.example.h. This will open the example automation file in the code window. Take a moment to read some of the notes at the top of the list. Now we'll scroll down and find the startup sequence in the code. DCC-EX automation files consist of a collection of sequences, and every automation file needs to have a startup sequence, or DCC-EX will ignore it. The startup sequence always begins with the command autostart and ends with the command done. In this example, the startup sequence turns on the track power and starts up 2 locomotives. There are some additional sequences after that, and you can read what they do in the comments in the code if you like, but we are not interested in those for this exercise. We are interested in turning on the track power. Now that we have looked at this example, let's create our own automation file. Press the button with the 3 dots again, and this time select the New Tab command at the top of the menu. This will ask us what we want to call our new file. In order for our automation to work, we need to name our file myautomation.h with a capital A, exactly like this. So we type that in the box and click OK. This will open up a blank new file for us to type our code in. If we start a line of code with 2 backslashes, the IDE will ignore it when it compiles the code, so we can leave comments. We are now going to create a startup sequence in the automation file to turn on the track power. This will be very simple. Turn on your caps lock because everything we type will be in capital letters. First, we type autostart to begin the startup sequence. Next, we could type power on, as we saw in the example we just looked at, but this will only turn on power for the main track and will not turn on power to the programming track. This normally wouldn't matter because we can't use the programming track with the WiThrottle app anyway. But I like to park a car with a light on the programming track as a handy way to indicate that the track power is on. So we are going to take advantage of a handy feature that DCC-EX has that allows us to join the main and programming tracks together. This allows us to have a section of track on our layout that we can use both as a programming track and still have be part of the main track, so that we don't have to pick up our locomotives and move them to another track in order to program them. So the next command we will type in our startup sequence is join. This command will turn on power to both the main and programming tracks and join them together as if they were one main track. However, we may not actually want our main and programming tracks joined together right away, so we can also unjoin them. So let's type the next command in our startup sequence, unjoin. This will unjoin the main and programming tracks, but importantly, will leave the power for both turned on. So to recap, our startup sequence will turn on power to both the main and programming tracks, briefly join them together, and then unjoin them, leaving us with both a main track and programming track with power on. Finally, to complete our startup sequence, we type the command done. That's all there is to creating a simple automation with a startup sequence. Now we can upload our new code to the Arduino by clicking on the round button with an arrow in it in the upper left-hand corner of the IDE window. The IDE will find our automation file and include it when it compiles the DCC-EX code. When the command station reboots, we can see in the output window that our automation commands were executed and the power is on. Note that the track power is on, even though the power slider in the EX WebThrottle app might not say so. But now we don't need to use the EX WebThrottle app to turn on the track power. And we can control our trains with our WiThrottle app and use our DCC-EX Command Station even if it is not connected to a computer. Lastly, before I go, I'll share a preview of some of the things you can do with the full version of the iOS WiThrottle app. It adds a few useful features, including a track power slider so you can turn power to the main track on and off from within the app. There is also a dual throttle mode so you can run 2 trains at once from the same throttle. The full version also includes controls for turnouts and routes, which are really just switches. Using DCC-EX's automation commands, we can set up these switches to do a number of different things besides controlling turnouts. I have some set up to join and unjoin the main and programming tracks, as I described earlier. You could also set up switches to control DCC lighting and other features on your layout. I'll show you how to do some of these things more in depth in a future video. But freight's gotta move, and I hear the conductor's whistle calling, so grab your things and let's find our train. What's next? Installing an LCD display. In my next video, I'll show you how to install and configure an LCD display for your DCC-EX Command Station. But park that thought on a siding because we've got other places to be. So until next time, thanks for watching. Well, Scratchy, how are the negotiations going? You're considering the offer? Scratchy? You're going to arbitration? All aboard!